There's one mistake retirees make every single year, quietly, unknowingly, and it ends up costing them thousands. Not because they overspent, not because they made a bad investment, but because they acted just a little too soon. Right at the end of the year, in that final stretch between Thanksgiving and New Year's, millions of soon-to-be retirees feel the pressure to check off a final to-do. Roll over that account, start Social Security, tap their IRA, lock in a pension. It feels smart, proactive, like they're getting ahead. But what they don't realize is that December is a financial landmine. Make the wrong move now, and it won't just impact your next tax return. It could raise your Medicare premiums for years, reduce your Social Security payout, or permanently shrink your pension options. You won't feel the hit right away. In fact, everything might seem fine at first. Then January comes, the rules change, and suddenly you're stuck with decisions you can't undo. In this video, we're breaking down the one financial move you should not make before December ends, and the overlooked reasons why waiting just a few more weeks could save your retirement from a string of costly consequences. Because in retirement, timing isn't just everything, it's everything multiplied. One of the most common mistakes near retirees make in December is taking money out of their IRA too early, thinking they're getting a head start. Maybe they want to pad their checking account before the year ends, or maybe they think it'll help cover January expenses. But what they don't realize is that every dollar withdrawn before December 31st gets counted as income for the current tax year. And that one move can quietly push them into a higher tax bracket, triggering a chain reaction that's almost impossible to reverse. Let's say you planned your income carefully all year. You stayed under the Medicare surcharge thresholds. You managed your tax bracket. Then you take out $15,000 from your IRA in late December, thinking it's no big deal. But that $15,000 doesn't just raise your tax bill, it could cause up to 85% of your Social Security to become taxable. It might even trigger IRMA, a hidden Medicare premium increase that kicks in 2 years later. So, in 2027, when you're long past this decision, you'll suddenly owe hundreds more per month for Medicare. All because of a move you made in a single week of 2025. The worst part? Most people don't find out until it's too late. They open their tax documents or get their Medicare letter and ask what happened. By then, the damage is done, and all of it could have been avoided by waiting just a few weeks. Starting Social Security feels like crossing the finish line. You've worked for decades, paid in your share, and now it's time to collect what's yours. But if you're still working, even part-time, and decide to start benefits in December, you could be walking straight into a trap. The issue isn't with starting early, it's with how Social Security counts your income within the calendar year. And if you don't time it right, your first few checks might not even make it to your bank account. Here's what most people miss. If you earn more than the annual earnings limit while also collecting Social Security, the Social Security Administration can withhold some or all of your benefits. In 2025, if you're under full retirement age and earn more than $22,320, Social Security can take back $1 for every $2 you go over that limit. And they don't wait for you to file taxes. They withhold it now. So that December decision to just start now could cost you thousands, simply because your year's income is already too high. But here's the kicker. If you wait until January, the income limit resets. Your earnings clock starts fresh, and in many cases, you keep every dollar of your Social Security check. 1 month. That's all it takes to change your payout. And if you don't know that, you might start retirement already feeling like you've made a mistake. Roth conversions are one of the smartest tax strategies in retirement, but only if you get the timing right. And that's where December becomes dangerous. Many retirees wait until the end of the year to convert, thinking they'll have more clarity. But by then, there's little room for error. Your income for the year is nearly locked in, your deductions are already set, and one misstep could push you over the edge into a higher tax bracket or worse, into IRMA territory, where your Medicare premiums quietly skyrocket. The risk isn't in the conversion itself, it's in the guessing. If you estimate your income too low, you might convert more than you should. And even a single dollar over the threshold can cost you thousands in extra Medicare premiums 2 years later. Unlike traditional taxes, IRMA doesn't ease in gradually, it hits hard, with sudden jumps that feel more like punishment than planning. What's worse, once you file, you can't undo it. There's no take-back button for Roth conversions anymore. Before 2018, you could recharacterize the conversion if you overdid it. Not anymore. So, if you wait until December to make the move, you're rolling the dice with incomplete information. That's why seasoned planners convert earlier in the year or break it into smaller pieces to avoid last-minute surprises. Because in retirement, the cost of bad timing isn't just higher taxes, it's regret you can't fix. Pensions might feel like the one part of retirement that's set in stone. Choose your payout, sign the papers, and enjoy the income. But if you're thinking about finalizing your pension election in December, you could be locking in a worse deal than if you simply waited a few more weeks. Why? Because many pension plans, especially those offering a lump sum option, use year-end interest rates to calculate what your payout will be. And even a small shift in those rates can cost you tens of thousands of dollars. Here's how it works. When interest rates go up, the present value of your future payments goes down. So if you lock in your lump sum when rates are higher, as they've been in recent years, you'll get less money up front than someone who waited until January when new actuarial tables or rate adjustments might actually improve the payout. It's not just about luck, it's about understanding the math behind the offer. And even if you're choosing a monthly pension, not a lump sum, December can still hurt you. Some plans base monthly payouts on age or year-end mortality tables, and choosing too early could mean you get locked into a slightly lower monthly income for life. That's a permanent hit over a decision that could have waited 30 more days. In retirement, those details aren't small. They're the difference between a comfortable future and a stretched one. Most people plan their retirement date around emotion, birthdays, holidays, the end of the year. But retiring in December comes with a hidden risk that's easy to overlook: losing your health coverage before Medicare kicks in. It happens all the time. Someone gives their notice, wraps up their final day in late December, and assumes they're covered until January. But here's the catch: employer health insurance often ends on your last day of work, not at the end of the month. That can leave you in a dangerous gap with no coverage during one of the most vulnerable times in your life. And sure, there's COBRA, but enrolling takes time, and premiums can be shockingly high. If you're not careful, you could be stuck paying out of pocket for an emergency room, visit, medication refill, or specialist appointment, just because of a 2-week lapse. Worse, if you plan to enroll in Medicare right after retirement, the transition might not line up. Medicare enrollment windows can be tricky, and missing one by a few days could delay your coverage by months. That's why many financial planners recommend retiring in early January instead. It gives you a clean break, easier coordination with Medicare or COBRA, and less risk of falling into a coverage gap. Because when it comes to healthcare, timing isn't just about convenience, it's about protection. And one mistimed retirement date could turn a celebratory season into a very expensive lesson. It's one of the most painful financial surprises retirees face, and it happens because of one small oversight. If you retire in December and immediately dip into your 401k before you turn 59 and a half, you could get hit with a 10% early withdrawal penalty. That's on top of regular income taxes. Many people assume that once they've left their job, they can access their money freely. But the IRS doesn't work that way. And this is where the rules get confusing. There's something called the Rule of 55, a little-known provision that lets you withdraw from your 401k without penalty if you leave your job at age 55 or older. Sounds great, right? But here's the fine print most people miss. The rule only applies to the 401k tied to your most recent employer. If you roll that money into an IRA before taking a withdrawal, you lose the protection. And if you leave the job before the year you turn 55, even by a few days in December, the rule doesn't apply at all. that means retiring just a few weeks too early or moving your money too fast can trigger thousands in penalties you didn't expect. The worst part? Once you've made the withdrawal or completed the rollover, there's no undoing it. It's a one-shot decision with permanent consequences. In retirement, access to your money is everything. But rushing to grab it before you fully understand the rules? That's how you lose it before you even begin. In retirement, it's not the big, flashy decisions that ruin your plans. It's the quiet, rush ones. The ones made in the final days of the year when you're eager to wrap things up and move on. But those last-minute financial moves? They can come with consequences that echo for decades. Higher taxes, slashed benefits, surprise Medicare bills, penalties you didn't see coming. And worst of all, once the calendar flips to January, there's no going back. The truth is, the system isn't built to protect you from bad timing. It's built on rules, unforgiving ones. And if you step over the line, even by accident, the cost isn't just a few dollars, it's momentum, freedom, and peace of mind. That's why the smartest retirees don't rush. They pause, they plan, they wait when it makes sense to wait. So, before you make that move, before you start Social Security, tap your retirement account, or lock in your pension, ask yourself one question: what changes on January 1st? Because in retirement, the difference between a good decision and a costly one can be as small as a single month. And knowing when to act is just as important as knowing how.